And this right here, guys, is a prime example why when your plants begin to look like this, you go ahead and you remove them from your garden. Do you see the pests? They're actually breeding on the tomato in the background. So this is just going to encourage pests in the garden. I'm unsure exactly what diseases are attacking these tomato plants. I can tell you with certainty, I pulled 2 up last week that had Fusarium wilt. We have a video to tell you how you can tell if you have Fusarium wilt. You can go back and look at that, but I'm pretty sure what I've got going on here is some kind of blight. And I'm telling you, it's just killing the tomatoes completely, and it's attracting the pest to my garden. Now this tells me a few things. This tomato plant is thriving. It's bearing fruit, but it's tucked out here in full sunlight 12 hours a day. But standing right beside it is an amazing sunflower. And then I've got some peas planted right beside it. And this tells me that the soil on this end of the garden just happens to be a lot better than the end where you just saw the diseased tomatoes. So placement of your tomatoes is important, but it all comes back to soil health, because these tomatoes actually get more sunlight than the first ones that you saw. All right, so yesterday I showed you guys my diseased tomato plants. As you can tell, I have pulled them up, and I'm gonna allow my beans and my peas and my llama beans to go ahead and take over these trellises without competing with the space with the tomato plants. Now, I normally do a chop and drop where I cut the plant at the base, and I will show you an example of chop and drop, and I'll tell you why this one is done that way. All right, so here you've got a chop and drop, right? I broke the tomato plant, I left the roots in the soil. Nowhere else did I do that with the tomatoes because they were diseased, which means I don't want their roots in my soil. I want those plants out of here. And what I've done is put them in the biochar pit, which is the big ring way out there. And what I've done is I'm gonna turn those into biochar so I don't lose those important nutrients that the tomato plants pulled from the soil to grow themselves. Now, the reason I left this tomato plant in a chop and drop situation, it is nestled amongst these llama beans. And I don't wanna disturb their roots because they are producing so well. So I'm gonna leave that be and pull it up as soon as the llama beans are finished. Now, what I will do with the llama bean plants, guys, I will harvest these amazing pods right here. They have about a week more. I opened a couple up. They're not quite formed on the inside. What I will do is I will chop and drop this plant. I will cut it at where the root zone is at the ground, and I will drop all the leaves and the vine on the ground to let it go back into the soil, because that is what makes it a nitrogen fixer. You've got to leave the roots in the soil with these plants so that your soil can then absorb the nitrogen that they have been fixing during their growth season. Okay, so that's how that works. So to get healthier soil, there are a couple of different things that you can do. Chop and drop method. You can do the heavy mulch. You can do succession planting, which is where we have out here with the corn. We've got corn growing. You can see it in the distance. But we've also got a succession planting of corn coming up again, okay? Another thing that you can do for healthy soil, let's go back over it. Chop and drop unless the plant is diseased. Then you pull it up, roots out. The second thing you can do, succession planting. The third thing that you can do is interplanting or intercropping, where you've got different plants. So what you're seeing is bell pepper, peas, marigolds. Go a little further down and you've got basil, tomatoes. So you need to intercrop. You need to put a lot of different roots in the soil in that area that actually helps the plants feed from each other, okay? It helps you get less pest, less disease, more yield from the same spot. So it's a great way to increase soil biodiversity, but getting more out of smaller spaces in case you don't have an entire quarter acre that you can dedicate to a garden. So I hope that this helps. We thank you guys for rowing in our boat here at Starkey Farmstead. May God bless you and multiply you. Get out there, guys, and get something in the soil.